Welcome to the Everything Food Podcast, where we serve up the good, the bad, and the ugly of all things food. I'm your host, personal chef Anthony Jordan. Today's guest is Chef Marcus, a driving force behind Cincinnati Cooks, a free culinary training program from the Freestore Foodbank that's changing lives one place at a time. We're slicing through the good, how food can empower and uplift, the bad, the barriers that keep people from opportunity, and the ugly, the reality is of hunger in our own backyard. Thanks, Chef Marcus.
Going.
Going cool, man. Give us a quick synopsis of your culinary background and what led you to Cincinnati Cooks.
Well, I've been cooking for a long time. I was a chef for David Justice for a while. And throughout it, just came back to Cincinnati, and they had just started Cooks. And when they started Cooks, I had a nephew-in-law who was in the program, and this is rotation 3. He was in the program, and in the process of him being in the program, he had been in trouble his whole life. He told me about what he did and how he learned about the program. Then he went out and got a job, something that he had never did. So yeah, but he, in the process of it, kind of explained to me what they were doing for the community. While I was on the road with David, Reverend Al Sharpton asked me what I did for my community, and I couldn't tell him anything. So literally, what he told me was that it was a lot of people who would jump at the opportunity to learn something about food if they had the opportunity to learn it. And when I came home, my nephew in law asked me, hey, what do you know about food and what are you going to do now? Well, he said, because I'm in a program where they can really use your help. So when I went through the program, I came down here, I met Chef Fernando, Scabriel, and Dennis Koski, which were the first two of Cincinnati Cooks. And
Yeah.
they told me, really ain't anything that we could do for you, but you can really help us. And then they said, what is it that you would like out of this? So while I was in the program, I ran the program. Chef Fernando made me report to him. And it was real cool because I wanted to learn how to run the kitchen. And Chef Fernando said, so literally, in the time they got the rotation 5, and I tell you, he had so much paperwork in front of him, just trying to write Kids Cafe, trying to write, the program, trying to write, just they were in the process of writing everything. So it made it to where he got a chance to do the paperwork that he needed to, writing recipes, going through the micronutrients, everything that was necessary for government grants. And I ran the program. And it was simple things, so it wasn't hard to do. But I had to report to him, literally just like in most kitchens, a position of hierarchy.
Yeah.
If the students had any problems, they could not come to him. They had to come to me, and then I had to go to him. So literally, what it meant was that I got cussed out by them, and then I had to go to him and get cussed out too. So
I remember Chef Fernando.
yes, yeah, Chef Fernando was a guy at the very beginning, Spitfire.
Yeah.
He had no problem going up one side of you, coming down the other side, and then
That's
telling
usually
you
the
that
way
he
it is.
loved you.
Because
Yeah,
you chefs,
yes,
a lot of people don't realize chefs freak out because it's a highly stressful position.
yes,
It's a
yes,
lot of moving parts it could be a million moving parts to get one little piece of meat on the table.
yes, yes.
And it's just, but you said something about Kids Cafe. Give us a little bit about the Kids Cafe.
So what Kids Cafe is a project that they started years ago when they found out that a lot of kids were not eating after school. They would get the meals that they had during dinner or during lunch, and some of them would get breakfast. They didn't really even offer breakfast at that time. It was something that you had to work to get. But most schools would offer the lunch program, and then they found out that after lunch, a lot of the kids were not getting food to eat. You know, very, very insecure. And I'll never forget one of the first stories that I heard about it was they were up there in Washington, and literally it was crazy because they had this kid who was like packaging food from people who didn't eat.
Mm-hmm.
Like he would go around from table to table with his classmates and say, "You gonna eat this? No, you gonna eat this?" And
Mm.
what they did was that they found this kid packing up food in his socks every day.
Yeah.
So that would be the way that he took it home to his brothers and sisters. And then they also found that there were kids that would not eat during the weekend. So they created a program called Power Pack, and that Power Pack program was something that was very, very similar to that. But the Power Pack, the biggest thing about it at the very beginning is that most kids would not take the product. So,
Mm.
like, they would give them food, but the kids wouldn't take it because everybody knew that they were getting it. So, one of the things that they did was that they started producing it in the schools, and the teachers would pack the kids' backpacks while they were outside playing.
Wow.
So yeah, yeah, and that was a way of getting food to them, and that was like safe food,
Right.
stuff that you didn't have to worry about being refrigerated. They didn't have to worry about cooking it. Basically, open and eat, and then they started liking it. So then you had other kids who was like, well, I know I got two parents, and I
Right. He
know that
ate
we
it. I
can.
ain't die.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
I give it a shot.
yeah.
My
But
my
they,
stomach bubbling.
because that's all that they would talk about when they came back. It's kind of ironic because throughout the years, that's been 20 years ago, almost 26 years ago, and things have changed a lot in the process of you know building a program similar to that. And where Cooks came into it is that in the beginning, they would use the Kids Cafe menu to teach students how to do basic needs, almost like home ec in a way.
Yeah.
And I know you remember, Chef, because you came down a few times when we were down there on Central.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, now we in a completely different spot, very updated kitchen, and really changing the way that things are done.
I remember I found out about Cincinnati Cooks, and I used to volunteer
Hmm.
and
I remember.
pop in, and every
Yep.
now and then I come down there and say, "Hey, chef, who's the cooks can help and stuff
Yep.
like that." You would turn me on to people, and then y'all moved to the new place.
Yep.
And I remember getting the address, driving. I'm like, I almost like I'm driving out of town. I'm like, where I'm
Yes. Yes.
going? And I get down there over there in Price Hill, and I hit that Eastern Avenue, and it opened up, and I'm like,
Yeah.
it can't be. I got to be at the wrong place. And I
Bruh.
end up coming in the
We used
executive
to pick up
director.
stuff at Central because nobody knew that we had moved. So they would come to the kitchen down there on Central and just drop packages off, food at the front of the building. And so, yeah, every day we would have to stop by there. I still drive past there just to make sure that nobody just dropped a whole bunch of food off. And, just because nobody expected us to move so quick.
Right, right.
And
But
I'll
it
be honest,
happens.
yeah,
Let me
the
ask you a
bus.
question. So,
Go
with
ahead, Jeff.
everything you saying, you believe, and I sure as hell believe, that food can be a transformational tool in the community.
Definitely. Definitely. One of the things that I've seen throughout time is and when they first started Cooks, one of the reasons why they started is because they felt that food could be a second chance opportunity. You
Mm.
know, a lot of places would hire people with different backgrounds, records, felonies,
Hmm.
and through all the years that I've been here, man, I've seen it. Like I told you, my nephew-in-law, he had records, that were as long as his arm, and he managed to get a job after he completed the program because culinary, and when I say culinary, I'm talking about from McDonald's to Wendy's to Jeff Ruby's, etc. There's always opportunities in it, and that's important. Because when they started it, that was one of the things. They had two goals in mind. First off, not all food that goes to the trash can is bad. You know,
Mm-mm.
a lot of places just can't use it for what they need. So, you know,
Hmm.
they rescued a lot of food. And secondly, it was a way of using food to teach people a career, which is what was asked of me.
Right.
Uh, which
And
I got a chance to
that's
see.
kind of leading into my next question. What's the ripple effect of culinary education on the family in the community?
I would say the education is very important. And in fact, the craziest thing is that the first menus were things that were very similar to hamburger helper, uh, tuna helper, chicken helper, you know, and it was the idea behind it was that the students would learn how to cook so that they could go home and cook a healthier meal than buying the boxes or buying stuff out of the freezer aisle. And it was very, very popular. And I'm telling you, man, I was in rotation 5 and they didn't think it would be a rotation 6 when they
Mm,
first started off. And now we have classes that are 30,
right.
35 people, and
Because I
you don't
think
have
when
a,
I met you, it was in the teens or something.
yep, yep.
Yeah.
Well, we had two classes at the same
You and
time.
Chef Pitt.
Yep, yep. So, I mean, like now it's like, you know, they run one class and now you can get certified in culinary.
Okay.
Very different.
And
Yep.
a quick question. Which culinary certifications do you offer?
The CFC,
Certified
Certified
Fundamental Cook,
Fundamental Cook. And
ACF.
yep, but they get a year's membership with the ACF. They spend about 8 weeks, 9 weeks getting the CFC after going through the first part of cooks, and then they go into the CFC. And then after that, they have almost a whole year to where they can capitalize on other things.
Because with the ACF, you can add on.
Yep,
You got
yep,
certified fundamental cook. You can move to chef and
yep,
deco swing and so on and so
yep.
on.
And that's
Quick
that's
question,
important. Yes.
and I hear this all the time.
Hmm.
So the certification is the certified fundamental cook because
Yes.
I'll run into somebody and they'll say, "Well, I graduated from Cincinnati cooking. I'm a chef."
Yep. Yep. Which is not necessarily true. But what it did do is it gave them credentials saying, I've
They on
learned.
their way.
Yes,
Where
yes.
you start? I started washing
And
dishes. I didn't get
it,
no
the
certified. I
average
didn't have no
person do.
certification.
I mean, like, in honesty, back in our day, you could get into a kitchen position by being a teenager if you
Yeah,
was willing to wash dishes,
right.
bus tables, anything that you could do to get a job. And yep, anything. But these guys in the first course, they learn how to cut. They get an opportunity for serve safe. The one thing that I could tell you is that people who have no education, have not been to any programs for school, for culinary, they don't know anything about serve safe. That
Explain to
means,
the people who don't know what serve safe is.
okay, so serve safe is a class that teaches you the fundamental policies of handling food safe. Um, that means that when you go into most restaurants, there are people there who are serve safe, but they just kind of changed the laws to where the people who are serve safe are actually the people who are handling food. Because the way it used to be is that the manager or the cashier could have been serve safe, somebody who has no idea what's going on with the food,
Right,
just know that it's being cooked. You know,
right.
now
But
they make it.
they was the manager or owner,
Yep.
not even there, don't know how to read a recipe, can't cook, but because they're certified, they certify the building.
Yep, bingo. And so now, but they just changed those laws to where somebody on each shift has to be say
Yeah.
certified, and it has to be somebody within the kitchen. So, you know, when we first
Because the health
started,
department show up and you at home on vacation, and I say Chef Marcus is the one certified, they ain't going for it no more.
yep, which our students, the craziest thing is that they would come in here and get certified, and then they go to work someplace. And the first thing that they say is, "Do you have a copy of your certificate?" And they'd be like, "Yeah." And the very first day they would come in and they'd come back like, "Hey, they got my serve safe hanging up, chef." And
Yeah.
then you see where they have a problem with them.
Yeah.
You ask them for your serve safe back, and they say, "Oh, well, we can't give that to you."
Right. Because they want to keep it, whether you there or not.
Bingo,
Because it
bingo.
used to cover them,
It
whether you
did.
was there or not. Now
Not
they,
anymore, but yeah, it did. It used to cover
yeah,
a lot of places, you know.
yeah,
Um, then I would get stuff from students like, yeah, well, I seen the sir say certificate up on the wall, but chef, it expired 2 years ago. You know, and now they want to put mine up there where that one
yeah,
was.
yeah.
So
Instead of just taking the test themselves. If an outsider without going through Cincinnati cooks, can they come in and get certified?
it's hard to do, but not necessarily impossible.
Okay.
Because I mean, like the way that we see things is that anybody out there in the community could be an advocate of the program. You know, like um, I've heard people where they talk bad about the students, and I always think, you know, do I say something about that, or do I treat them as a possible advocate of the program? And that's important to understand. Anybody can be an advocate of the program,
Yes. Yes. I'm an
whether they,
advocate.
yeah,
That's why I
whether
used to
they've been
volunteer my time,
and
as a personal chef.
yep,
That's maybe a catering here and there. I'll come down there, walk in the door. Hey, we're Chef Marcus.
yep,
He around here somewhere. You can find him because most people know me. I grab
yep,
Tony or somebody
yep.
like that.
How many times I done gave you people, you know,
Hey,
and
every
that's like,
time.
yep,
And I
that's
appreciate
important,
it. Yes, sir.
because for you, that's somebody to help you make it through a possible night that's going to help you build your business.
Hmm.
But for that student that's going there, that's an opportunity to see what's in the industry. Because as much as we try to give them an example, as much as we try to give them an example of what goes on out there in the industry, it's hard to show them, you know, true aspects of what really is going on. And that's important to understand. We need people who come through here and ask students, do you want the opportunity to do something? Because I'll tell you, out of all the students that we have, 90% of them say, yes, I'll take any opportunity that I have. It's hard to do too. Very
Yeah.
hard to do, because
Oh, yeah.
some of them come in here and they're about business, and then some of them just come here because they need something to do. So separating the two of them, and in my class that I have now, I got a guy who's in his 70s. I have a lady who's getting ready to compete who's in her 70s. They come in here and they'll work just about half of the young people under the table.
Under the table.
And it's like, and you get those questions like, what makes them work so hard? They have a mission, you
They're on a
know?
mission. That's
Yeah,
it. The
yeah,
mission is the mission. It's like
that's
Mission
it.
Impossible. I got
That's
a
it.
mission. I'm focused, and on nothing else matter.
That's it. And
The
that's important.
misconceptions about food insecurity.
That it's not next to me, you know.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. You'd be surprised, man. One of the things that I had to learn, especially when I first got here, and I went to the schools, I would go places where we had kids cafe. I would get out there in the community and explain to them what it was that we were doing and how it's affecting people within your own community. Cincinnati and Ohio actually was the third on a list of food insecure places and people
in the
and
nation.
in the nation. And what that meant was that if you had 10 people that lived around you, it's a good chance that five of them are having trouble meeting the next meal.
And
You
two
know,
of those, and another two are struggling. They on the brink.
yep, yep, bingo.
Yeah.
And that's a hard statistic for the average person to see, because they see the people who are sitting next to them and living in the house next to them coming out with a smile on their face, not understanding that when they walk inside of that house that there's all types of chaos going on trying to cover. You know that in a lot of houses, the parents will feed their kids and not have a meal for themselves, you know, and not know where the next money is coming for food, you know. One of the things that was real big about Kids Cafe was that it came back to an old saying that it's hard to function and hard to operate if you're hungry. So they had a whole bunch of kids that were failing in school, not meeting the basic necessities because they were hungry and they didn't know why, you know. And that could be anywhere from a parent losing a job to parents being locked up, parents
Hmm.
not being around, mom separated
Financially
from dad.
responsible,
Bingo.
living above their means,
Yep.
you know,
Yep. Very big
name it.
part of it. Um, my kid is gonna look like he got $1 million every day, but
Right. But we struggling. We broke.
he's struggling. You know,
We can't
it's
eat.
it's yeah,
We eating
it's
ramen
part of it.
noodles and Doritos.
And the kids have no idea what that is. I tell people all the time, I grew up in a poor household. I didn't know it, because we had so much love in my household. My brothers and sisters, we got along so well. We didn't know we didn't know that we wasn't getting the best. We wasn't eating steak. We wasn't eating lobster and shrimp and
Right.
all of that stuff. But we were
We
eating.
wasn't either. But we had fun.
Yeah,
We
the
had
clothes
fun.
came
I
from
wouldn't
hand
change
me
it for the
down.
world.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
hand me down clothes, all of that. But I didn't know, you know. Nobody knew in the house that we were poor, you know. And to this day, my kids, we ain't rich by no means, but
Right.
they don't know that we ain't, you
Right. They think we
know.
rich.
Yeah,
They see a
Dad, I
pair of
need
gym shoes
this.
in the car. Oh,
Yeah,
Papa and Daddy rich. It's
yeah,
like,
yeah,
no. But
yeah.
I need share a lesson from the kitchen that applies to life.
Mise en place. Mise en
I
place
knew you
means
was gonna say that. I knew you was
because
gonna say that.
I'm gonna tell
Explain to the people what mise en place means.
mise en place means that there's a place for everything and everything in its place. All right.
Woo.
Yeah, that means, system organization. I can't tell you of many chefs, especially chefs, and honestly, most cooks. In fact, I can guarantee you any restaurant that you go to, there's somebody back there cooking your food who's dependent on things being where they're supposed to be at. They're not
Mm,
coming to look where they're at. They're coming to look where they're supposed to be at
where it's supposed to
first.
be.
Then, if they're not there, they're following out to the next place. But everything in the kitchen is supposed to be in a place that you should be able to go right to the place, almost as if you had your eyes closed.
You better.
Yeah,
Because after a while, it's second nature.
it
It's
is.
there.
It
You know
is.
it's there. And if it's there, for me, at least me,
Mm-hmm.
every day I walk into a kitchen, I'm looking for a better and more efficient way to do my job.
Yep.
And if
Yep.
I'm always chasing utensils and things, that ain't gonna happen. That's disruptive. Because it's again, as a chef, it's a lot of stuff going on.
I have seen chefs go up and down dishwashers, up and down them, up one side, down the other side. And it's like, well, when I went to put it up, it wasn't anything there. And it's because somebody else put something in the place that it was supposed to be
It
at.
don't matter. You supposed to
Yeah,
straighten it out.
that's it. That's it. But that
All
would be the
right.
number one thing that I would
Yeah.
say. Every chef, every kitchen operates off of a place for everything and everything in its place. And that's something that comes all the way from back when the Scaffier was actually in the game.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Scaffier. All right,
Yes.
chef. I appreciate you.
Yep. Thank you.
Love you. Always,
Yep.
like I said, I don't know if I ever told you, I always considered you one of the premier chefs in the city.
Yeah, you did.
That's
Thank
why
you.
when I look, I need some help. I come down there. Sometime I have a question.
Yep.
I know you busy, and
That's
I hope
it.
I don't get in your way sometime and bug you, and you be like, "What is he talking about?" But
Nah,
it's
you know
it's
what, Chef? I like what you do because I haven't had students that didn't come back and say that they learned something. And
right.
that's important,
Okay.
because everything is about learning. You know, uh, Even if you can learn and make a few dollars while you do it, that's important. And that's more important because the average person is more open and receptive to things when it gives them some type of reward. You know, um, I've had guys up under me that was like, "Well, you didn't tell me good job," you know. And the way that the industry is that they feel that if you get a paycheck, that's a way of saying good
Right.
job.
Right.
But sometimes people need to hear that. And you always tell the students that are working with you, good job, thanks for helping. Just little things like that go a long way.
It's perfect.
Yes,
Thank you,
sir.
Chef. Okay,
All
that's
right,
that's
thanks
a
a lot.
wrap on today's episode. Big thanks to Chef Marcus and the Cincinnati
Thanks.
Cooks team for showing us how food can be more than fuel. It can be a future. Stay curious, stay hungry, and keep questioning everything food. Chef Marcus.
Thanks. All right, Chef, later.